everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a really big filming day, and this is going to be a week that has more videos than I normally upload. I was considering cramming a bunch of videos into this week because I have a lot that I want to get out, but I decided that I'm just going to stick to 3. So I'm going to be posting, on my normal 2 days, which are Tuesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Friday, and then I'm also going to be putting up another video tomorrow because I was tagged in 2 different Halloween themed book tags, and I wanted to get them both up before Halloween passes. So yeah, that's why you're going to be getting an extra video from me this week. So for this video, I'm going to be doing the Hocus Pocus tag, and I was tagged in this one by Brandy from Books with Brandy Shanae, and the original tag was created by Katie from Never Not Reading, which is a blog. I will have all of the things linked down in the description, so the video that I was tagged in, as well as I will have the link for the original tag linked, like I said, in the description. So there are 12 questions, and it took me a while to come up with answers for these, so let's just jump right in. Number 1 is the Sanderson Sisters. Name a great trilogy. And for this one, I decided to go with the Illuminate Files. I'm not exactly sure if this is in the right order. Anyway, it's Illuminate, Gemina, and Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a YA sci-fi series that mainly takes place in space. I have loved this series from the very first book. I was automatically hooked when people first started talking about Illuminate because of its unique format, and it was the first book that I have read that was formatted like this, with text and interviews and just having pictures and all of these different types of formats. It was, like I said, it was the first time I had read anything like this, so I was really intrigued by the storyline going into it, and I was a little worried because I had heard a lot of people saying that they were having a hard time connected with it, which I think was why I ended up putting this book off for almost a year before reading it. But I went to the book con before the second book came out, and I ended up getting a copy of or getting an arc of the second book. So I decided to buddy read Illuminate with a friend that I had met at that year's book con, and it was absolutely amazing. And I can say that I have loved each book since the first one. I will say I didn't love each of them as much as I love Illuminate. I believe Illuminate is definitely my favorite, but I have given each one of these, I'm pretty sure, a 5 out of 5 stars. So definitely one of my favorite series, and it's just amazing, and I love it. I know this is not the series for everyone, but like I said, it's definitely one of my favorites. Number 2 is Winifred Sanderson. Name a book with a truly evil female villain. For this one, I decided to go with Amarantha from the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not sure what my framing is for this, but anyway, sorry. I was having a hard time coming up with this one, but I landed on Amarantha. I felt like, although they kind of tried to explain why she was as bad as she was still pretty terrible. Well, not pretty. She was still terrible. And I feel like even if things... Oh my goodness, things are happening. Anyway, I feel like if things hadn't happened the way they did with her sister, which not really getting into spoilers, but not really because I'm not explaining it. But even if things didn't happen the way they did with her sister, I felt like she still would have been as bad as she was, just because she felt like a truly cruel character, and everything that she did was to harm other people. Like, she got joy out of harming other people, and yeah, I just felt like she fit perfectly into this. And I will say that I felt like she was a really good villain, if nothing else. Number 3 is Sarah Sanderson. Name a book that uncannily attracts children. And for this one, I did not want to go with the basics that I was thinking of, so I didn't pick Harry Potter or Percy Jackson. Those were the first 2 that I could think of, especially since I don't read a lot of children's or really middle grade. I have a few, but it's not a genre that I reach towards often. So for this one, I decided to go with the Amulet series. That's by Kazuo Kabushi. I have the first 3 volumes in this series. I actually have not read past the first one. Here's the first one here, which is The Stone Keeper, And I believe there are currently 7 volumes of this out, I think, and there's supposed to be like 8 or 9 total. This is a middle grade graphic novel series, and I feel like this is a good one for pretty much like a wide range of age groups. It wasn't my favorite just because I felt like there wasn't at least a lot going on in the first one, but obviously I felt like this is one that has a continuous storyline of a lot of different things going on throughout the entire series. But since I've only read the first volume, not a lot happened. But out of this, my mom read the 3 that I have, and she really loved them. And then I have one of my younger brothers also read them, or read the ones that I have, and he really liked them too. So I felt like this is a good series that a lot of kids would pick up if they have access to. So yeah, I think that's a good fit for that. Number 4 is Mary Sanderson, Name a Book That Is Just Plain Silly. And for this one, I didn't know if it meant like bad silly, like it was like almost like a really bad book, so bad it was funny, or if it was just like a comical silly. I decided to go the comical route, and I decided to pick Can't Text This by Tegan Hunter. This is a book that I recently read, which I will be talking more about in my October wrap up. So in the next couple weeks, whenever that goes up, I will be talking more about this. But this one was so, I guess it's a rom-com, so there were a lot of funny moments that popped up in this book, and it was like cheesy funny. It wasn't something that I thought I was going to be laughing at, because I feel like a lot of times when I read rom-coms, there are like a few moments throughout the book that I find funny, but most of the time I'm just like, oh yeah, I get it, but it is what it is. But it was a lot of like really cheesy jokes that popped up in there, so I was just laughing, and I thought it was really funny. So good pick for that one, I guess. 5 is Max, Name a Book That Is Trying Really Hard to Be Cool but Doesn't Always Succeed. For this one, I decided to go with Roomies by Christina Lauren. And I was having a hard time picking a book for this one, but I decided to go with this because of I guess the subject matter of it. The risks didn't seem as bad as they normally would when it comes to topics of immigration and being in the country illegally, and you know, the things that they had to deal with. Now I know it's romanticized because obviously it is a romance novel, and I have seen one other movie where it is, you know, the topic of being in a country illegally was a big part of the movie. It's just, I don't know, this one didn't connect with me as much as I was hoping it would. So I think it was trying really hard to like be this big thing, but I just felt like this one, at least for me, didn't completely hit that mark that it was trying to be. So it wasn't as cool, I guess, as it was trying to. I don't know, that sounds weird putting it that way, but it was trying to do a lot, and it just didn't hit it for me. 6 is Dani, Name a Book That Isn't Afraid to Tell It How It Is. And for this one, I decided to choose Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I just recently posted a review and discussion of this book. If you guys are interested, I will leave it up in the iCards as well as in the description below. This book dealt with heavy topics such as child abuse and grief, and it also dealt with how flawed a system can be, and how because of that flawed system, instead of getting help, people can be negatively affected because of how flawed a system is. And hopefully that made sense. I don't want to really get into too much about what happens in this book, because it's best to just go in this without really knowing too much. But this book was like, it did not shy away from any of the topics that it was covering, and I thought it was just, it was amazing. It was heartbreaking, and definitely one of my favorites this year, and I think everyone should go read this. 7 is Binx, Name a Book Series That Just Won't Die. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I don't mind, at least right now, because I haven't finished it, and I don't know how I feel about the complete series yet. But anyway, I'm just going to say the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. This series has been going on for, what, 7 years now, I think? 8 years? I think it might be 8 years, actually. But this series has been going on for a long time. It's one of the biggest fandoms out there, and I feel like is one of those fandoms that people are just going to like keep alive, even though sometimes the fandom and the people in the fandom, I don't want to say necessarily the fandom, but the source material as well as some of the fans of this series can be really problematic. And yeah, like I don't know, at least from what I've read, I enjoy the series, but I can recognize its problems as well as the problems, like I said, amongst the people of the fandom. It could be really, really bad sometimes. Number 8 is Ice. Name a book with a character that's dumb as rocks. Now for this one, I picked a book with multiple characters that I felt like were so dumb and made really stupid decisions. I decided to go with You Will Be Mine by Natasha Preston. This book follows this girl. I cannot remember her name or any of the other characters' names. Anyway, she's in college and it takes place around Valentine's Day or something like that. So her and her friends are getting ready to go out to some show or something that's like a week or so before Valentine's Day. And before they leave, they get this letter with this, like, you know how the old serial killer letter notes or whatever. It's like this cut up thing with this creepy note for one of her roommates. She's living with like 6 other people or something. Like, she's living with a group of people, so she gets one of her roommates gets this creepy note basically saying something about your heart is mine. It was really creepy. And basically throughout this story, each of her friends gets notes throughout this, and like within a week or so of them receiving this note, they end up getting killed, or maybe like with the next day or the night they get it, they end up getting killed or something crazy like this. And I think all of these characters in this story were really dumb because it was on 2 fronts. So we have the main set of characters, the group of friends. I thought they were all really dumb because one person would make a suggestion about, oh well, it was probably this person because like the girl had dumped this guy and he ended up leaving this, or she rejected him, she didn't want to be in a relationship or something like that, and he ended up leaving school and all of these things. He was dumb, first of all, because he left school because he was so heartbroken that she didn't want to be with him. I was like, what guy is like that? Like, I don't even think they were a couple or even close to being a couple, and he left school first. Yeah, that was dumb. Anyway, moving on. I'm ranting. If you can't tell, I really did not like this book. I think I gave it 2 stars, probably like really like a 1.5 maybe, because it was somewhat entertaining. But I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again. Anyway, so all of these, like, one person made the suggestion that it was probably this guy because he was so heartbroken that he left school because of her, and blah 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 blah. And so after that one person made that suggestion, everyone was like, yeah, it has to be him, it has to be him, it couldn't be anybody else because you broke his heart, so now he's coming back for all of us. Okay, we're not okay, yes, like I said, that was really stupid. And then we have the investigators that came into the picture. Now the police, I don't think, maybe because this wasn't taking place in the US and maybe their police officers handle things differently, I have no idea. But these are like regular, like, maybe the FBI came in at some point, or not the FBI, because I don't, like I said, I don't think this took place in the US. But maybe like some higher police officers came in at some point. But I believe this was like the town or the, like, the city's whatever police officers. But they come into the picture and they start making really dumb suggestions of stuff that they should do. They were saying, so after, like, at first I was just like, okay, they're kind of putting it off because they don't know if it's real. But after the first person got killed after receiving this note, they still didn't know who did, or they really didn't know, I think, until maybe the end, who was doing anything. But they was like, you guys should just go out as normal and we'll all be there. I was just like, you don't know who it is, you don't know how they're getting to these people, but they keep ending up dead in random spots. So, why was that a good idea for them to go out the house at all, first of all? Now, saying that they should always be cooped up, but yeah, it was dumb. It was just like, they kept setting up stuff for them to go out so they can try to trap the person who was snatching people and killing them. Yeah, that was stupid. And then, you know, the group of friends told them, oh, well, this person might be doing it. We think it's this person because, like I said, the same guy that they was blaming earlier, because he left school because he was so heartbroken that the girl didn't want to date him. And so they brought in like all of his family because they was like, he has to be the person. You know, they say that it's him. He's not around, so it has to be him. So they bring in all of these people, and they just, like, everybody in the store kept making really, really dumb decisions. And I was just like, what is this madness? Anyway, I'm going to stop ranting because I was probably just talking about this for way too long. Just know, I felt like all the characters in this book were really dumb and made really dumb decisions. Moving on to the next one. Number 9, The Black Flame Candle. Name a book or series you wish you could resurrect. For this one, I'm going to go with the Covenant series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I actually have not read this series yet. I own the first 2 books in this. So this is the first book, Half-Blood. And the second one, I can't remember, but it's on my shelf over there. Anyway, like I said, I haven't read these yet, but I wish I could resurrect the series because I have a tendency to want to read books that are popular and that people are talking about, I think, which is why I have put these off for so long. I have seen a few people talking about it, but not enough that I see it and I'm like, oh, I need to read that. I still haven't read that and I really wanted to, but I still haven't picked it up because I have so many other books on my TBR and I'm just like, I want to read this right now. This is catching my interest. So I wish I could resurrect this series. 10 is Headless Billy Butcherson. Name a book that's not as bad as people make it out to be. And for this one, this might be a somewhat unpopular opinion. I'm not sure. But for this one, I decided to go with To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. Now, I bought this book from Book Outlet a couple years ago, I believe, like not long after I started my channel. Because I had heard a lot of people talking about this, but I felt like the more that time passed that people had stopped reading it, the more I had heard that people didn't like this book or the series because the main character was really whiny and she seemed really young for her age, because I think she's like supposed to be 16 or something like that. And they said her character seemed really young for her age. I just heard like a lot of pretty negative things about this book and series, so I put it off because I was like, I don't really know if I want to read that yet. But I obviously read it this year because of the movie that came out, and I wanted to read it before the movie. And I was just like, I don't know why people are saying that. I felt like the main character acted how a character her age or a person her age would act in the type of situation that she was in. Like I said, I didn't feel like that she was really whiny, or I felt like how she acted was appropriate for her age and her situation. 11 is Winifred Sanderson's Spellbook. Name a book with a mind of its own. And for this one, I went with Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Brownhorse. I picked this one for this prompt because this book was completely different from anything I have ever read. Maybe because I have no background knowledge on Native American like folklore or anything to do with that. So learning or reading this, that it deals with that, you know, like I said, the Native American folklore with these monsters mixed in and the gods and, you know, everything that has to do with this, it was just so different from anything that I've ever read, and it was just really good. And another book that I highly suggest. And lastly, number 12, Garry Marshall, Name a Book with a Cameo. And for this one, I decided to go with Once Burned by Janine Frost. This is the first book in the Night Prince series. And for this one, there was a cameo by Bones and Cat, I believe, from the Night Huntress series. Now, I read this book first, so I knew that they were, when I read about them, I figured that they were probably characters from a previous series because, you know, they talked about them, like the way they were brought up, it was clear that, you know, there was supposed to have been some background knowledge about them, but I didn't personally know them yet because I didn't read I read this book first. But I have since gone back and read the Night Huntress, or like the first 2 books in the Night Huntress series. And I think once I make it all the way through that first series, I'm gonna go back and read this first book just so I can get a little background knowledge, because I believe the main male character in this one appears in that 900 series as well. I think he appears in the next book that I need to read or something like that. But yeah, so yeah, those two characters make an appearance in this. So those are all the questions for the Hocus Pocus tag, or book tag, however you want to say it. I feel weird tagging anyone just because it's so close to Halloween and I feel like this is the season to do this. But if you're watching this and you haven't already done this tag and you would like to do it, please do it, and then let me know where you post so I can definitely go check out your answers. If you don't have any type of platform where you feel like you can answer these questions and share with everyone, leave a comment down below answering some or all of these prompts, because I'm curious to see what people will pick for some of these questions and stuff like that. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm kind of rambling on now, but that's all I have for you guys in this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more from me, make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another book tag. Bye.